Good day, everyone. My name is Brian Majonga. I'm a business studies lecturer from Sibande TVET College, Sibande campus. And I would like to welcome you to this project management level 4 lecture, which is based on topic 3, which is your project scheduling. This is our second lecture, and in the first lecture, we looked at the first parts of scheduling, which is mainly gathering information for which is mainly the reasons why we want to do scheduling, the purpose and process of scheduling. We also looked at the steps that are supposed to be followed to produce an effective schedule. And we said it is very, very important to have detail and to have as much information as possible so that you can also be accurate. And if you don't consider these steps, if you don't follow these steps, chances are high that your schedule is not going to be close to accuracy. And then we also looked at the shortest possible time versus the specific due date. And we said this shortest possible time is also called the optimistic duration. This is an estimation and a schedule that does not look or consider that there can be some eventualities that can arise when the project is being implemented. So it just looks on the positive side. It just assumes that everything is going to go according to plan. There are not going to be any disruptions. So, and we have said that this is a very dangerous path to take because eventualities, they always happen. There are a number of things that can happen during the life of a project. And then we said the best way of estimation is where you use your specified due date. If you use this method of estimating and scheduling, you always have some reasonable accuracy in your estimation. So we said that this one, it looks at historical events, previous projects that have been done. They can give you an indication of the challenges that were encountered during that particular project or during those projects. Then it can also indicate the lessons that they learned. So you can use those lessons to create your own schedule. And so if it is informed by history, there's a tendency that it can be very close to being accurate. And then we said, for you to be able to do a proper schedule, you need to use the work breakdown structure. And the work breakdown structure, it is a tool that is very, very important in project management because it helps you to understand the scope of the project. What is the project all about? What are the components of this project? Because the scope describes the project overall, but it doesn't give you the specifics. So the specifics, you get them from the work breakdown structure. And then the work breakdown structure, you then take those components, those specifics of the work breakdown structure, and you then use them to schedule your project. And then we also looked at the different methods of designing a work breakdown structure, and basically we looked at 5 of them. And we said the first one is your product breakdown structure, the second one is your contract breakdown structure, and then the third one is your transport breakdown structure, and then the system breakdown structure. And we said almost every product that is produced in a project can be called a system. And the system has got different subsystems. So when you are doing a system breakdown structure, you are producing the relationship between the system itself and the different subsystems that are there. And then finally, number 5, we have the project life cycle structure. And we said the project life cycle structure, it indicates the whole life of the project from beginning to the end. It tells us what the project entails. What are the milestones of the project? What are the activities in each milestone? What are the tasks in each activity? And subtasks, the work packages. It tells us everything. And then we also said there's need for you to gather information for scheduling. So this information, where do you get it from? You've got the different plans that you need to produce, which include your work breakdown structure, your task list, your project management plan, your risk plan, your quality plan, your communication plan as well. And then there's a lot of detail that must also be included in your schedule. These details, they include the task ID, which is the identification of that particular task. What is the name of the task there, and then the task number, the task duration, the plan, the start and finish date, the dependencies, the percentage completed, the resources that are assigned, the hourly rate for each resource, and then you then put the cost column, which indicates the cost of each, so that at the bottom, at the end of that list, you will be able to add up and indicate the budget. So now we are going to move on and look at the task dependencies, or the task relationships. The tasks that are undertaken in a project, they relate to each other in different ways. There are some tasks which can happen at the same time. Then there are also those tasks which happen one after the other. There are tasks which affect each other. That one task, the completion of one task can affect the completion of the other task. So we need to understand those relationships. How do these relationships relate with each other? So we have got 4 dependencies of project tasks. The first dependence that you look at is your finish to start dependence. We say in summary, first task, which is your task A, must be finished before the next task, which is your task B, can start. So you must finish with task A before you can move on to task B. This is a relationship that is there. It means that for you to start task B, you are going to use what has been made in task A. So there's no way you can be able to say, I'm going to start at task B, because you don't have all the required things, because one of the required products that you are going to use there is coming from your task A. So I'm going to use building construction. You are building a house, for example. Then you can now look at, maybe you are going to start. Before you can dig the foundation, you can start with digging the foundation. What do you start with? You start with setting out, where you are going to use your plan to measure the ground, measure and mark the ground, that this is where the trenches are going to be. I think you have seen at some construction site that before they start, there's some white powder lines there, and some they even have some pegs. They also have some fishing lines that are also put there. That is an indication of where the building is going to sit. But you see, even before they went to do the setting out, that process, we call it setting out, before they could do the setting out, there was first a plan. So the plan was developed, completed, and if it is in an urban setup, the plan is completed, and then it is taken to the inspectors, who also look at it, evaluate it, and approve it. So you see there's also another dependency there. That the task, the first task, which is drawing the plan, must be completed before it can be taken for inspection. And then before you can now say, I'm going to the ground to start doing the construction, your plan must be approved. So your plan must be approved first. When you have got that approval stamp and signature of the inspector, then you can now move on to say you are now going to go and mark, to go and set out the ground. Then when you have set out the ground, everything, you know now where is going to be this room and the like, and then you can have your people now who are going to start the digging process. So you see, they depend on each other, these tasks. You are moving from one task. There's no way you can be able to jump from one task to the other before the first task has been completed, because their relationship is that they affect each other. So if the next task is going to be completed successfully, then the first task must be completed first before you can start the second one. The second dependence is your start-to-start dependence. Here we are saying the from activity must start before the to activity can start. What is that we are saying here? We are saying the activity that started first, it initiates the beginning of the next activity. You don't have to first finish this one like what we did in the first part. But in this case, we are saying the moment you start this activity, the first activity, then the second activity can start. For example, in our construction, you know, when you have done the digging of the trenches, normally you also have to do footing, which is pouring of concrete, the concrete mixture, where the bricks are going to sit on. And also you also do the same when you are putting the slab after you've built the foundation. So the process is like when the concrete has been mixed, and then they then pour it onto the trenches or on top of the foundation. And then the moment they start pouring the concrete mixture, the builders, they start leveling and compacting it, because it has to have certain strength. So they don't have to wait for the builders to finish. For those people who are pouring, maybe it can be a machine that has been mixing the concrete mixer. They don't have to wait for it to finish pouring the whole area before they can start leveling. But the moment they start pouring, then the builders, they start what? They start leveling it, because it has to be level at 180 degrees. So they start doing the leveling there, and then they also compact it to the required strength. So you see these processes, they are going. Once this one is moving, or once they are pouring, they are moving. The builders, they are also moving together with that. But they could not start leveling when there was nothing that had been poured. They had to wait for the pouring to start, and then they would start before they could do the leveling. I hope you'll be able to differentiate. Then the third one is your finish to finish dependence. Here we are saying there are two activities here, but these two activities are in such a way that the completion of the other activity ensures that the other activity can also be considered complete. So it means the other activity is feeding into the other. Like I gave you an example of the slab. So it means when we are making the slab of the building, the finishing of the leveling of the concrete mixture on the foundation, it signals the completion of the slab of the building. So you see, the one activity is leveling, but the main activity there is what? Is the slab. So the slab can be considered to be finished when it is all leveled out. If there's a part that has not been leveled, it means it cannot be considered to be complete. But I also have got another example. I think you've seen when they are building like double-story buildings, the ones that people normally call upstairs, that when they build, say, the ground floor, they've built, and then on top of those walls, they will put some iron bars. Those iron bars, they are called reinforcements. And then when you are putting that structure that you are going to make is called a form structure. Then they will put some shuttering, which is some panels, and then they'll put concrete mixture again. So when you are done placing those reinforcements in their correct position, then that will result in the form structure to be finished. So you cannot finish you cannot say the form structure is finished when there are still some bars that are still to be tied up, still some bars that are still to be put. So to say we are done with the form structure, it starts from having completed placing the reinforcements in their correct position. Then finally, we have the start to finish. The start to finish dependence. It says the two activity. If we are using A and B activity must start before the from activity can finish. The B activity, which is the activity that is coming next, must start so that the activity that has been happening can complete. Say you're building, these days there are thieves. So usually on your construction site, you may have some security personnel there. And then they have two shifts. Maybe one shift, it comes in the morning, from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And then the other shift comes from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning. So maybe it's a new day, then the new shift is coming. The people who slept on duty, they cannot leave the site unattended. So they will have to wait for the new shift or the personnel who are in the day shift to come and start their duty. When they have come and started their duty, what happens there is that the ones who have been there, they hand over. Under normal circumstances, they do a patrol of the whole premises. So we are saying they cannot leave without handing over. So what must happen is that there must be the new shift starting their role, the new shift starting their duty, so that they can release the shift that has been there. Those people who slept at duty, they are released by the new personnel that are coming to take up duty. So you see, there's that dependence. There's that relationship between the two, that they relate. If the new task, the new shift is going to come late, say instead of coming at 6, they come at 5:30, it means those ones who were on duty from 6 the previous evening, they are going to continue until 6:30, because they cannot leave before these ones have started duty. They can only leave their post when the new team has come on site. So you see, there's that relationship. Maybe before I move on, let me go back to the start again of these dependencies. We said there are 4. The first one is your start-to-start dependence, where we said one activity, the finish to start. The one activity must be finished for it to be, for us to be able to move on to the next task. It can happen, you see, when it comes to this, that one activity can be done today, And you can even wait if you don't have resources, maybe 2-3 days or even a week, depending on the nature of the project. This one has no pressure as to, because it is finished now, this task has been finished now, then we must move on to the next task. There's no pressure. So, but there has to be that relationship. You cannot move on to the next before this one is finished. So this one is an opposite, direct opposite of the start to finish. And then we also said that we have got the start to start, where we said some activities, they can only be initiated, they can only be started when the other activity has started. They are not independent on their own. They depend on the happening of the other activities. And then we also have your finish to finish, that the other activities, the completion of one activity can also signal the completion of the other activity. And finally, you can have your start to finish, where we said we used the security system. But maybe we also have got, especially ladies, when talking of construction, some of these things they may not know. I've been in the kitchen, I visited the kitchen on several times, and I've seen my mother baking. So there in baking, they also have got some task dependencies that they also have there. To say, if you are baking a cake, you first mix the dough, the flour, the water, and then you come up with the dough, and then you can only put that mixture, that dough, into the oven when it has been thoroughly mixed. You cannot just take water and then sugar and then you put them in a tray and then you put them in the oven. So the mixing must have been completed, and then you can move on to put it in the oven. And then when you are using the start to start dependence, it's like when you turn the knob of the stove to grill or to bake, then the elements in the oven, they are going to start heating up. So they can only start heating up when you have turned. So you can turn to a specific heat, to say maybe you have turned it to 180 degrees. So those elements that are there in the oven, they are going to heat up to 180 degrees Celsius. Right? So when we are talking about the finish to finish in the kitchen there, when you are designing a cake, you have taken it out of the fridge, out of the oven, then you are going to put the icing. Some they say it's creaming, whatever, those designs that you put on the cake. Then you are going to have to put it in the fridge for that cream or the icing to set. So at the end of, say, they say put it in the fridge for 30 minutes. So at the end of the chilling for 30 minutes, it's a process. You might not be doing anything, but it is an activity that must be done. You have placed it there, it stays there for the 30 minutes. So at the end of the 30 minutes, we can now say our cake designing is what? Is complete. Because if you are going to put the cream and then leave it there, the cream is going to fall off. So when that refrigeration time is over, then we say the cake is done. Then we also have got your start to finish in the kitchen as well. That you can only say we can finish baking our cake when the designing is started, or maybe when we have warmed our oven, then you can be able to put your cake in inside so that the cake can be baked. Then finally, looking at all of these activities, whether you are baking a cake, whether you are delivering a lecture like what I'm doing, whether you are going to be building a house, we said the tasks that are involved there and the activities that are involved there, they have got a relationship, they relate. So what I'm having here is an extract of a Gantt chart. It is showing this project was running for weeks. It ran for 13 weeks. So it is showing us all the things that I was talking about there, that we have got the activity name, we have got the activity ID there, which is being taken from the work breakdown structure. So when it says work breakdown structure 1.1, activity A, this is the ID, and then we are saying from this activity A, we didn't just mention it, we didn't name it to say activity A is this, activity B is this, and so on. But what we can see there, it says start to start. It means you see the activity A there is starting at the same time. As soon as activity A starts, then activity B can also start. That's what we are having there. And then we have got finish to start. You see, where it says 67% complete there, we are saying at the end of activity B, then we are going to have activity C starting. Then we also have got these activities. You see, some of the activities, we are having the activity C. At the end of activity C, activity D must also complete. So like I said at the beginning, some of the activities, they follow each other. Some, they go concurrently, they are parallel. So basically our lesson today was looking at scheduling, and our main focus was on task dependencies. And we said there are 4 task dependencies, namely the start to finish, the start to start, the finish to start, and the finish to finish. Scheduling is very important. It's a very important part of the project planning process. And if you don't plan well, chances of the project failing are very high. As was said by Winston Churchill, that those who plan do better than those who do not plan, even though they rarely stick to their plans. We are not restricted to plans, but plans, they must be there. Thank you.